The next talk will be by Jean-Philippe, Debian France Trusted Organization. Have fun.
Many thanks, and good morning, everybody. I will talk about you, Debian France, non-profit organization. First of all, everything. Sorry, but I'm not. I don't have the slides because I didn't have the time to be helped to do that, and it was so difficult for me to prepare that. But we're going to try via Urbeck, and thank you very much for her help to send on the video the most important information we would like maybe to see written. Well, Debian France, why I wanted to talk about that to you, because it's an important organization for Debian, because as everyone knows, of course, Debian has not any own existence, because as was said during the DPL election, it's not a foundation, it's not an organization, so it lives via her its trust organizations. And in Europe, Debian France is the trust organization which is able to represent Debian, and so I think it was important to introduce for the project this organization, so that you know it and you know what it does and what how it works. So Debian France has been created in 2006 by Debian developers, and this organization is submitted to the French law of 1901, a law which is the law for the non-profit organizations. So it's a pure organization of this structure. We have about 90 members, mainly French members, of course, because we mainly move in France during our events that I will talk about in a few minutes. About 90 members, a lot of Debian developers. I will explain that in a few seconds. And all the people who are members are also Debian supporters and pay for the organization a 10 euros sum each year to be member of the organization, to get involved in our internal working and our votes to elect the board and to elect the president, to elect etc. And 90% are able to do that. On the board, we have 9 persons amongst 7 Debian developers. So I will try show you the mix of the Debian developers who are members of the board. 7 members are Debian developers, and 2 others are not. In the board, elected a president, of course. I'm the president of the Debian France organization. I'm a Debian developer not uploading. So I mainly work for translation, for accessibility, for community team, and so also for this organization. And also the board elected a person to do the treasurer, of course. So it's a PEB, P-E-B, as you see on the line I forwarded. And well, there are several persons who handle the budget of the two persons. Sorry, managing the budget of the organization, PEB, so, and Pierre Numa, who is not a Debian developer and who helps about treasure. Well, sorry, I lost my window. So what happens? I don't know exactly what happens. So I try to refine what was lost, and I don't know why. Sorry. Well, the following is to know what Debian France does. I would say that this organization represents Debian, and at least on the French area, but also in Europe. I mean, for example, we regularly represent Debian at FOSDEM, in particular when we are present on the booth at these events, these European events. We also are in French events such as, for example, the live software meeting, which are not organized each year for some time because there are not enough persons, but we were organized a few years ago. Also, Capitale du Libre in Toulouse. So such events are very important with a lot of people, a lot of Debian users and Debian developers that we can meet. And events, for example, on Paris, Passage en Seine, for example, where we have also the opportunity to meet new users, new Debian developers and contributors. The contact points, the fact that we really are present on the French area enables that we are a kind of a contact point for beginner to come in Debian. First, because on the booth, people are very happy with meeting Debian developers who are in real life. So we are very happy, and we have some mailing also enable to the beginners to have a first contact with the distribution and a first help to start contributing and to start using the distribution. Some person discovered Debian by our presence, via our presence, and so it's very important for us. And it happens that we request our help to get involved in the project. For example, we have contacted to support the Debian Med hackathon. We were requested to help that, and we did, of course, because again we want to represent Debian. We also organize some meetups. It's some very short events, some evenings, some afterworks, in particular in Paris, but also in Toulouse, in the south of France. Also, we organize that. And so in Europe, just like I said, we try to be on the booth of Debian all the weekend amongst other persons to promote, to sell goodies for Debian. We also try to make the internal community life in Europe active, in particular through MiniDebConf. We organized the MiniDebConf in 2019, and we hope to have a new one in 2020 in October if things are possible according to the context. Of course, you imagine. It's a very important time because European Debian contributors meet each other. Of course, many Europeans, but it's not absolutely mandatory. And so it's an opportunity to meet people who can't go to the DebConf because it's so far, for example, or in a wrong period. They can go to this kind of events and meet each other in real life. Also, we organize a bug squashing party. Again, it's an event important to have a community alive. And also, we support the action of Debian, in particular in Europe, of course. We could represent Debian, just like SPI does at USA. We could represent Debian if something was necessary in Europe. The other thing is our action getting funds for Debian, because it's also a part of our action in parallel and during we are on the booth. I would say that on Debian booths we sell goodies, and it works very good, very fine. When we see what happens at FOSDEM, goodies are sold very quickly, and we get donations on every booth in France or in Europe. We get donations, And these donations from Debian events or in general events are in our budget and then in the Debian budget that I will explain in a few minutes. It enables us to fund our own needs, of course. For example, to help volunteers to travel or to do things like that, but also to help to fund the Debian budget directly, the Debian funds. For example, the events, for example, for MiniDebConf, for example, it's funded from our own budget. But we could imagine that Debian could fund something, and Debian France could help and could support the funding of a project via the Debian funds, with the authorization, of course, of the DPL. So we have two budgets to handle. One for Debian, so it's under the DPL approval, of course, and one we is for the our own working, our internal working, and it's a kind of how we balance all that. And most of our funds go to the Debian budget at the end of the year when we have to do the accountability. How we support the actions with them, we use that also to support, of course, Debian events. I would say that today, when we organize, for example, MiniDebConf, MiniDebConf are supported by our internal budget and by sponsors that they can find. And also, I think someday we can request on the Debian budget the approval of the DPL to have the MiniDebConf to be organized. So it's another part of the activity. The thing I can tell you as well is that as we have two budgets, one for Debian itself and one for our own working, we also can support other things than Debian only. I mean, for example, we are members of some free software non-profit organizations. I mean, for example, April, which is in France, the kind of a free software foundation in France, and maybe we can be the members of other organizations in the future. For example, for organizations which defend the freedom of the internet, for example, or the neutrality of the internet. Of course, the next question is how we need help, of course, because as any non-profit organization, we are very, very small, despite all I've just said and all what we do. The first thing, of course, if anyone can donate in Europe to have a tax law, and also it enables to fund the Debian budget, so it's always a good thing. But also, you know, we have about 100 Debian developers in France, or speaking French, or in France at least. It's true, and more, I think, if we go to the French speakers. So these French Debian developers can also join us, of course, to help us on booth, because being on the booth during all the weekend may be very, very long. So it's always useful if we have people to help. So during events, we always need people to do talks, to be on the booth, to help to organize all what is around the booth, because there is all the question of transport, the question of transport, the goodies, etc. So it's all something which is very well done via the current team, but some help would be, of course, an excellent idea. And also because you know, of course, there is a board where our constitution, Debian France constitution, says that on the board there is a minimum number of Debian developers which are needed to have to be acceptable. So, of course, any new person who would like to join us in the board would be an excellent idea, because, of course, renewal is always very difficult. As you know, I know that before the current board, there was some problems to, for example, to have someone to the secretary post. So it's always very useful to have some persons who are ready to give a little time to help to manage the organization as an administrator and as a member of the board. Also, many other contributors may be useful, of course, even if we are not aware of that immediately. But there are a lot of things which can be done. For example, the websites. For example, the management of the mailing list. Well, there are a lot of things to do that anyway would be very useful to do. I just give you to finish I was very much quicker than I think, so it's a good thing. I was afraid to have problems due to my English, but finally it's more quicker than I thought. I will give you the URL of the website. It's in French, of course, but maybe it will give you some information about our current events and about the general organization and what we are doing. So well, it's good for me. Debian France so tries to represent Debian, and we hope that we also will help beginners to come and contribute and use, of course, Debian. And we have a success doing that because, for example, our current secretary, Zordak, comes from a meetup. So it's when organizing a meetup that we have someone which we came, and we now a Debian developer not uploading and a translator and also member of the Debian France organization. So well, it's very important for us to do all that, and we hope to through all that get some new contributors for Debian. Thank you. So I don't know how you do about questions. I see on IRC at least one question. Well, I see one question, for example, from Frederick. Don't hesitate to ask new questions if you want. I can start reading IRC now about a fleet organization. Actually, I don't know. It's something which needs to be decided by the General Assembly. It would imply, of course, a statute, a constitution changes to have a full flat organization where everybody is president, as you proposed, Frederick. It's something which should be discussed in the board. Anyway, personally, I don't like this kind of organization. And I have to say that any organization where I saw such things has problems to work, except Debian community. But for reasons, it's because there are some well, a kind of common stream which enables to work together, even if we don't agree all the time. But it's fate organization. It's a difficult way of working. So should be discussed in the instances. Will the swag shop be open? The swag shop is open. So for your information, there is a website where you can buy some Debian goodies all the year if you get interested. Is en vente libre. En vente libre. I will write. I think it will be more simple for you if I find my window up. This website is in French, but also in English, if I remember correctly. And on this website, you can find goodies for Debian that are provided by Debian France for the Debian. And as I said, to the Debian Friends, because most of the funds are given to the Debian project at the end anyway. Are members from other territory welcome? I would say yes. There is not any criteria. The question is from RZR. I would say. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Zardek, for the. I will fix the URL, which was not good. I'm sorry. Let's give the good URL. So there was not any criteria to accept people from other territories. The only important thing so far, but so far, is that we mainly speak in French today. We speak in French. So it's a criteria maybe important because it probably would be somewhat more difficult if we should handle multilingual, but why not? It's not something we think about. The other thing is that, no, it's the only thing actually, because once we know that we have this question of language, I don't think there is so problem to accept from anyone any contribution. Are there other questions? I don't know. I don't see for the moment. Yeah, speaking French would help, of course. Or maybe we could also imagine a dual language persons who could, for example, translate some Debian France support into English or into other language. So, well, probably interesting, I think, also to have this thought. But so far, that's right. The organization is especially known in France, and that's also a reason for which I wanted to talk about it in the MiniDebConf, because I think it's important for the project to acknowledge it. So of course, so far we don't have any not French speaker member. But for example, at MiniDebConf, when we organized MiniDebConf to Marseille, it was fully international. So we have people from any countries, from Spain, from Germany, from Great Britain. So it's not closed, and also from the wide world, it would be possible, I think. Actually, there is not anything to oppose that. Are there any further questions? Suggestion involving to Debian Francophone could be more inclusive. I'm sure. I agree. I agree. You're right, Arazad. Yeah, Arazad suggests that we should talk about Debian Francophone rather instead of Debian France. That's right. Well, I guess the name was chosen by the original funders, and they didn't have probably this thought about this thing. But yeah, any French speaker would be welcome, of course, without any problem. Maybe to forward also the URL for people who would like to do some donations. So I will do that also. Sorry, I have to copy and paste this. Oops. And with Jitsi, my computer is somewhat slower than usual. Oops. And I saw a further question that I will try answer to in a few seconds. Oops. So further questions. Any contacts from other French-speaking groups like Quebec or Africa? So far, no. So far, it's not. But why not? Well, at the FOSDEM, we had the opportunity to meet each other with the video team, where there is Louis-Philippe, which is member of the video team, and we came to FOSDEM, and we came with us on the booth. So it was very nice to meet him. So we also may probably indeed work with Quebec guys. So far, there are not any contacts. any precise contact, but why not? We could do. Also, be aware that there is a second organization in France who gathers some Debian users. It's really the idea of helping supporting user support between Debian users, but also Debian contributions to do some wiki, for example. It's Debian Facile. I will try to write that also for you. We try to work with this other non-profit organization also because it's very important for us to try to have a kind of ecosystem around Debian, because it's important to users and developers to know each other and to be able to do in real life meetings and to see each other. It's very helpful, I think, because well, it enables Debian to be a welcoming community. I take a simple example. It's my own example. I'm using Debian and helping Debian since 2004, but I started to contribute to the translation team once I met Zordak, because Zordak explained to me, speaking, all the process and how it works and how things are done, and it's sometimes much easier than reading some high documentation or high pages. So I probably wouldn't have contributed to this team without this IRL meeting. Also, in the same thing at Toulouse on the Debian event, I was introduced by someone the fact that I could become easily a Debian developer, not uploader, and it was important for the Debian France organization. So I did the process. I didn't do that for the time I started contributing to Debian. So it really shows that this kind of meeting, this kind of human relationship that created by having an organization to do events is very important. So it's very important, I think. Thanks, Zodak. I will give you the URL until Debian Facile exactly. At least it will be probably more simple to find, even if I think it's only in French, but at least you will know that that exists. I'll just confirm that the Debian booth at FOSDEM is collaborative, of course. Yeah, that's right. Debian France is present and sells most goodies, but of course there are other persons who come and who help with the booth. For example, we had the video team members who came and helped on the booth. So it's a collaborative booth, as everything in Debian, of course. Are there any other questions from you? Or is it good? Well, anyway, for your information, we have mailing lists where you can, maybe I can give you that. We have mailing lists where you can take information. In French, mainly, you will find them where it's not useless, I give, because you have them on the website. There is another question. Will Debian Friends be at FOSDEM 2021? If any, yes, we will be, of course. Are you talking about it yet? I don't know. What's your question? I don't know what you mean. Yes, we'll be present, of course. If there are FOSDEM, we'll be present. At least in general, there is 5 or 6 persons from Debian France. So yes, we will be present, and we will help this effort. And also we'll be present at Capitole du Libre if there is one. And as I said, there is probably a MiniDebConf at Bordeaux on October. That it was announced during last MiniDebConf at Marseille in 2019. It wasn't done because organizing was very difficult, but yeah, we are going to do it. I was wondering about the post-COVID rules. Yeah, it's the post-COVID, of course. So know that in France, rules seem to be somewhat less difficult than they were. In the next weeks, we are going to be able to travel in France, and pubs will open, restaurants will open, hostels will open. So, well, rules seem to be somewhat less strong. It's supposed that in Europe, the frontiers will open during the next months. So, well, we can hope that when first them happen, we will not have anymore the problem of COVID. We hope, at least, we really hope, and if we will be compliant with the rules which will be given by the for them organizers and by the health authority, of course, to be sure that the volunteers and all the persons coming on the booth are in complete safety. So today I'm optimistic. I really hope things will be good in next month, and so for them will take place. MiniDebConf will take place, but of course I'm aware that it's not exactly what the decision is not human dependent. So, well, wait and see. Are there other questions, or is it good for you? I'm on IRC. My nick is Texu, as some of you know. So you can ask me something during the MiniDebConf. I probably will stay here this afternoon, although as I have another talk about the community team in some hours. And also I will be there, but more blinking tomorrow. But anyway, I'm always easy to be queried if you want to get information or to get an exchange about Debian France. I'm not sure I said, or I think I said, but in a flow of words, that I'm the president of the organization. So if you need information, I can forward them to the board to get them, or to inform you directly. You're welcome for the answer to your questions. It was a pleasure. Thank you for your questions, and I hope the Debian project will is more aware now that of the existence of this just organization, and will go on with working for Debian. And yeah, that's good for me.
Jean-Philippe, thank you for your talk.
You're welcome. Thank you.